It's been good. I've said this for a number of weeks. They've practiced really well from August on. They were a little fatigued, just like we all are. You play a night game, and they get home at 2 or 3 in the morning, and just like myself, went to bed at 2:30 in the morning and get up and work all day, and they're doing the same thing. So there was actually a little more fatigue and probably less energy than there has been over the last few weeks, just based on being a night game. And Coach Glass stressed the importance of their hydration and nutrition and sleep over the next 2 days to get their body back on a normal schedule.
Coach Gundy said for the season that Tylan Wallace has the ability to be the next James Washington, just doesn't have the experience. How much does him working with Taylor so much last year as number 2 help him in that experience part? Because obviously it doesn't look like he's inexperienced this year.
First things first, that's a serious beard you got going on. I mean, you're heading toward Duck Dynasty, but well groomed. I mean, that takes a lot of work, doesn't it? Yeah, but I'm saying that's well groomed. I mean, that's a good look. If I ever did that, that's the look I would go for. But what you're saying is correct. Here's the interesting thing about him at this point. He's really just a freshman. He didn't play hardly at all last year, but he did get the quality works in practice. We had him there on the shelf in case something were to happen to one of those guys. We were very fortunate last year that it didn't happen. So he's got a good temperament. He's humble. He's a hard worker. If he continues to do that, he'll have a chance to be a really good player before his time's up here. But to specifically answer that question, it was the practice reps that he got last year that helped him as much as anything, because he just didn't get in the game very much when the game counted.
You've had other games where almost every receiver's had about the same number of catches, and it's been spread out pretty good. But the attention he's liable to get after doing that in prime time,
sure.
How's that going to help Landon and Dylan and Kyron and everybody else in the month of November?
It's the same concept we've had here over a number of years with what we went through with James and Blackman and even Dez before that, in that it's pretty easy to tell in the first quarter of a game if they want to protect a receiver, and I'm guessing will probably try to protect him some. I'm not sure. But if so, Corn has to do a good job of distributing the ball to the other players that are getting from whether it's zone or man, basically single coverage, and then run the football.
I can't catch a break with the health on your offensive line. You get Deontay Noel healthy, and then Shane Richards goes down.
Yeah, we played some musical chairs. Hopefully we can get Shane back. We'll know a lot more tomorrow on him. I would like to get guys settled in. I felt like that we blocked fairly well at Kansas. We actually blocked pretty well at Kansas State, and then I thought they performed. Maybe have had their best game against Texas. Just based on the quality of the guys that they were trying to block and protect. So I wish we'd settle in a little on that. Obviously, we can't control that, but we were able to get some quality snaps from Deontay.
Hoping to get Hambright back too, or is he going to be?
He's on that same shelf. We know a lot more tomorrow. Now, he was out there last week in pads and stuff, moving around, but we didn't feel like he was ready, obviously, or he would have played. Hopefully, he'll be better. When you have those injuries like he had, those ankle injuries that nobody really can diagnose and what they are, you just don't know till week to week. Sometimes those have been 2-week injuries. Sometimes those have been 7-week injuries.
Mike, you referenced Saturday night. I think the way you put it was 5 wants the ball more. Did Justice come to you guys and say, give me the ball more?
No. I can just tell that he wants the ball more. Now, he wanted out some Saturday night, too. He got the ball enough, and he got a little fatigued, but it was good. 30 came in and made some plays. 27 made some plays. But, no, he's never come to us and said that he wants to touch the ball more.
You got a sense.
Well, just kind of watching him, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that was just something that was going on in my own brain, that maybe he does need to touch ball more, not necessarily from him.
What did you learn about him that night in Waco 2 years ago?
Well, he was a freshman then, and he turned the ball over twice down there, I think. So we knew he was going to be a good player, but we just had discussions with him about the importance of protecting the ball and could very well be the determining factor in most college games, where talent is relatively the same. And since then, he's done a nice job taking care of the ball. He took it serious.
You commented on this as well on the teleconference, week to week in college football. A lot of people are going to look at what happened to Baylor last Thursday night in Morgantown and think, Oklahoma State beat Texas. They'll go in and clobber Baylor. But Baylor's obviously a lot better team, and they've improved some. And that's not exactly what you'll get on Saturday.
Yeah, I think if you look at what's going on in our league, Oklahoma is up to this point played much better than other teams just from looking at scores. And then West Virginia, had an off day, but other than that, they played at a high level. And then you can take everybody else, in my opinion, and put them in the same category. And that any Saturday, if you're not prepared, you don't take care of the ball, then you're suspect to not play as well as you would want to. And Baylor is a much improved team from what they were a year ago. They play hard. Looks like they understand their concepts. They got caught in a firestorm and turned the football over. I can't remember how many times out there in Morgantown, but most everybody in the country, if you turn the ball over continuously like that, especially on the road, it can snowball on you, and that's what happened to them, in my opinion, from an outsider looking in. The other games they've played is every game they've been in, all the way up through most of the third quarter, with the exception of maybe the Oklahoma game, who big played them. But Oklahoma hit them on, I don't know. I quit counting after about 6 or 7 big plays.
Yeah, if you were, you'd probably look at crossover tape getting ready for Texas because they had just played Texas. They were throwing in the end zone at the end of that game to win the game.
Yeah, they all the games they played, they've been in or won. Duke got up on them early, and they battled back in that game, but the rest of them have been pretty much the same.
That rule been interesting to get to know in the coaches' meetings and observe because he's a Penn State guy and he's from a different part of the country.
I don't have a lot of friends in this profession. I don't talk to a lot of people. I don't text a lot of people. So, I enjoy spending time with Matt. The limited amount of time I see him at the meetings, I very seldom see these guys on the road and recruiting anymore because head coaches get one shot at each young man. So we don't really cross over like we used to years ago. He and I have always had a good relationship, and I've had a lot of respect for what he did when he was back Northeast, and then down here he's come in. They're a much better football team, and they play hard and they have good concepts, and obviously he's doing a good job.
I think Chuba played a lot more Saturday than he has in recent weeks. Are you seeing, now that he's halfway through a year, some progress and he's kind of getting it more?
He's maturing and getting some quality experience and reps and showing signs that he's ready to be productive at this level and against top quality teams. And so we're pleased that he's coming along, and we feel good about where 27 is also. But there was a role for him for 30 in this game based on the schemes that Texas had, and they run really well from side to side, and so we could kind of match him with them at times. But he's certainly improving, and just the number of reps he's getting is allowing that to take place.
Difficulties of recruiting Canada?
I'm not very experienced with it. I went up there and showed up at the end when it was already done. I mean, I didn't have to do anything. So for me to really comment on it would be somewhat negligent on my part, just from the standpoint that the guys that we have gotten there, our assistants, had done a nice job with that. I'm going to say 1 is the distance. 2 is trying to evaluate talent with high school football that's further behind than what we are in this country. So you can see guys like Chuba who are really, really fast and run around and make plays, but trying to evaluate other players is not real easy. And it's just a matter of, whether you can actually have them interested in coming this far away. I'm sure it'd be different if you were the Northwest and at Pac-12 I guess they're 12, Pac-12 schools. But we've had some success, and I've been pleased with the players we've gotten from up there.
Looking back at what AJ Green did on Saturday, any further thoughts on how well he played?
Played very well. He competed 24, 31, 3, 8, and 4. Those guys competed against really quality, long, tall, athletic receivers, and that was a concern of mine. I said that 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, and they're going to make some plays because they're good players. Quarterback threw the ball accurately. Where we improved in this game was even though when they made plays in the passing game, we were within arm's length of covering them, and so you live with that. 24 was in good coverage when the tight end made. I think the tight end's the one that made the touchdown catch down the middle. He's right there. Guy made a good throw and a good catch. Same thing on the wheel route with Justin Phillips. AJ and Rodarius played hard and made a lot of plays. And I had mentioned that to him last night that they looked like they did last year against West Virginia, the way they competed. And, we were able to have success out there last year because those guys really competed against a good throwing game. And this was the first time that I thought I'd really seen them compete like that. For whatever reason, I'm not sure, but that was just my point of view.
Life in the Big 12, that success is only as good as your next start.
Yeah, and it's not any different than what Robert had mentioned in playing in these games. And just look at the scores week to week. I mean, the NCAA and college football is asked and tried hard based on the rules and things that they've done to create parity, and they've got it now, especially in this conference. And that's why it makes every game exciting.
For you in secondary, Baylor's had a couple of good receivers.
Sure. Yeah, those guys are long and tall and have done a nice job of catching the ball in the middle of the field. When you compete against teams who have receivers who will go catch the ball in the middle of the field, makes it a little more difficult in what would be their RPO system. They're running the plays that look like RPOs. I think at times they might just be faking it and throwing it, but regardless, it's the same concept.
What makes Waco a tougher place to play for you guys?
I don't know. I didn't know it was. Probably when we went down there and played, they were really good. That'd make it a little more difficult. I don't know that there's much difference now anywhere in the league for the most part. I think if you have a really good team, you're mature and you're squared away, you can play on the road, play at any time, minimize mistakes. So, I'm not sure any one stadium's different than the other.
What have you seen in practice on the development of Jelani Woods? Where he's gone from a guy in fall camp where you thought maybe next year where you'd see more action from him to a guy who's had some plays designed for him particularly?
Well, I think next year at this time he's going to be what I would call a really solid or a good tight end Cowboy back. He's really young. He hadn't played a whole lot. He's gaining experience due to the reps and so on and so forth. His strength levels have gone up considerably over the last 6 months. It's difficult when you come in there as a 6'8" quarterback and all of a sudden you're now putting your hand on the ground sometimes or playing in the world where it's really, really physical. And his strength levels weren't up to par. And I said at this time next year, based on his development with Coach Glass and strength conditioning, should put him at a level to where he can be very competitive. But he has come along and has done better up to this point than I thought he would. And he's made some plays for us. So he's a good weapon for us to have. And, his length, and he's 265 pounds by default. He's still thin. I would expect for him to be a pretty thick 275 at this time next year. But he's a guy that fits into our system now, and Mike and the staff have done a good job of designing some things for him that give him a chance to have success based on his structure of his body.
It was amazing, too, and I remember the Kansas game. He had a couple of big blocks, one on Justice touchdown run, and then he had a huge block on one of Cornelius's keepers.
He's doing a nice job. At times, again, I go back to his body, the way that he's put together. At times, it can be a little difficult. He hasn't necessarily conquered hip roll and leverage yet, and it's a little difficult when you're as tall as I think he's 6'8". I don't know how tall he is, but he's way up there. Sometimes it's easier for hip roll and leverage for guys that aren't that tall. So he's learning all that. Coach Mack's doing a good job with him, on the sled and drills and teaching him flexibility to bend his hips and so on and so forth. So he's going to be a good player here before he leaves.
That third down that kind of iced the game, was that always supposed to be Taylor keeping it running, or is that a read he made?
They're all reads. Gosh, I don't know if the number of times that he's kept a ball based on just telling him are so minimal. I can't even remember them. Most everything that we do here is some sort of a read, either a two-way or a three-way read.
How important was that open day for you guys to simplify things on both sides of the ball?
Well, we needed it just from a standpoint of to kind of look and see where we are. And I didn't feel like we had coached very well. And and I said this before, and I'll say it again, that your illustration of how well you coach during the week happens on Saturday. Sometimes coaches blame players. Sometimes outside people may blame players, but in most cases, it's the coaches. They're going to draw a picture for you on Saturday if you've done a nice job or not. Unfortunately, there's times that we do too much or we don't do enough, or we get in a game plan and get stuck and can't really rally out. But I told the staff Sunday morning, because the last few weeks I said we're not getting a very good illustration of how we're coaching. So we need to find something, do something different, figure it out. And I told them Sunday, you got a nice picture of a good job coaching, what you did the last 2 weeks because of the way they played. And so hopefully we can continue to learn from things that we've done. And we're probably doing too much, which coaches do. If you're in a situation where you're not as mature, you're maybe limited, you have younger players, you should go backwards instead of going forwards. And sometimes you try to get on a chalkboard and outcoach the other team. And in most cases, it's not going to happen. Most guys that coach at this level or I know in this conference are pretty smart football coaches. So it's all about execution and the players understanding, having a clear mind so they can have fast feet instead of a cloudy mind and slow feet. We've played with a lot of slow feet over the last month.
A little bit, excuse me, can I piggyback on that? We're a little bit technicalness to your answer. Give us a good example of simplifying a scheme or a game plan. You hear that all the time. We simplify. What do you do when you simplify?
I give you two ways to get a better feel for it. On the offense, if you're running a football play, everybody to a certain extent is supposed to be blocked except for a guy coming from the second level. If they're not, then that means you had a missed assignment. Well, if you have a bunch of those, and that means you got two things going on. One, you have players that are incapable of learning the system you put in, or two, you got too many plays. And then defensively, defense is all about getting aligned properly and then understanding your gap and your technique and responsibility, and you kind of build a net. Every gap that the offense has the ability to run in or throw in, gap or zone, should be defended by a defender at some point. Somebody should have their head in a gap, or there should be somebody in a zone or in a man coverage. And if that's not happening enough, then you must have too many different calls on defense or players that don't understand. And so in simplifying that, if you go into a game with 24 offensive plays and you're having missed assignments that are on the high end, maybe you need 18 plays. So that allows you to rep those plays more in practice during the week, and maybe you get a better feel for what's going on. That's kind of an example of what I'm talking about whenever I talk about maybe having too much and we need to simplify. Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's the same on defense. Guys got to be in the right spot. Now, if they make you miss, or you miss a tackle, or if they go up for a ball and they out jump you, that may not necessarily be scheme. That may be athleticism. So there's just two ways to look at it as a coach, and I that's one of the things that I have to do, and I just don't think that I've done a good job over the last 4 or 5 weeks of making sure that we had really good quality schemes that we could actually execute based on who the players that we have, whether it's youth, inexperience, or whatever it might be.
When Noel talked about having been more conservative against Texas, is that necessarily a byproduct of simplifying things, or was that sort of what Texas called for because of run game, quarterback run game?
Probably both. I'm not a defensive guy. I don't go in there and talk about schemes. So I just said, listen, I just want to be able to line up and execute. I want to be fundamentally sound. And I said this, I want guys to play with fast feet. And it's hard to do that when you're cloudy and you can't think. And so that's all I asked, and I think they simplified and reduced some, and it helped. And then, the flip side of that is, again, it's not that easy because you got to have enough schemes to confuse people on defense, and offensively, you got to have enough schemes to try to keep the defense off balance based on things they haven't seen. So, there's a fine line there. It's just not as easy as saying, hey, we're going to do this or that. That's why you have to coach, and so you get those results on Saturday.
In times like that, did you find yourself, Mike, taking a more direct role in practice?
Not really practice. More so during the week. Meet like today, tonight, tomorrow. Yeah. I do a good job. A lot of guys have watched our practice. I don't micromanage our guys. I don't have any business doing that. Based on I don't put the hours in. That's why I stopped calling plays. I was tired of watching tape 12 hours a day on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. So I stopped doing that, and that's really what it takes to be a play caller or be an assistant coach. So other than me going in and giving my input, once we get over there, I kind of watch other stuff, and then I get out of it just because I don't think it's fair. We've hired guys to do their jobs. They need to do their job. That's their role. And then in practice, I kind of watch all the other stuff where you guys will say, how was practices or how's the attitude? I watch that more than I do really the scheme standpoint. Unfortunately, Mike's got a tougher job, Yursich, because I can see things and it's easy for me to know if it's messed up on offense than I can defense, and so I kind of nag on them a little bit more during the week. But other than that, not really at practice.
I know the real answer to this will come down the line, but I had one committed player I talked to yesterday that said that was the best college football game he ever had seen in person, Saturday night. And we've got video of another one of your commitments in this current class that is out there jumping around with students afterwards. How much value can you put, because you had a lot of kids here, how much value can you put on that win and that atmosphere from a recruiting standpoint?
I mentioned this. I didn't want to come in and beat it down and keep talking about it because at some point people get tired hearing the same thing. But on my post game in the media and on the radio, that was the best atmosphere that we've had in a long time here, in my opinion. And if we want to continue to grow this program, it can't just be the coaches and players. It's got to be the people involved. And I'm thankful for everybody that's here. I'm an Oklahoma State guy. But everybody has a role to play, and everybody has to do their part. And I've said this. I know that Saturdays are tough. There's a lot going on nowadays, soccer games and dance and Little League baseball and flag football. But, if you want to continue to develop and grow into a big-time football program, these games that we play at home, you have to have sellouts. You've got to have people there. And here's what they did Saturday night, in my opinion. Nobody left at halftime and didn't come back in. Now, whether whatever's causing that, the reentry, I don't know how all that works. Maybe the alcohol sales, I don't know. But I know that all the way through the game that it was loud, it was disruptive. The players felt the energy, and it made a difference. So that's just part of it, and we all have to do our part. And so, we're going to take what we get. But, I run into people, Robert, around the community or, in the city when I'm in the summer or whatever, and they'll say things like that. And I'll say, in order to make this a big-time program, you have to do your part. You have to come to the games when you can. You have to be loud, and you got to support the guys. We had 23 big-time prospects there, and I think maybe 20 of them were offers. And I'm going to guess that all of them left saying that this was a big-time college football environment. It makes a big difference when you're recruiting against other schools that are trying to accomplish the same goals that we are. So, kudos to the fans and the alums and everything, but it can't just be homecoming. It's got to be every game. And so it's the chicken and the egg concept, right? What goes first? And so I don't know that anybody's ever come up with a clear answer on that, but I know this: we have to do our part, and the people that love this school and this program have to do their part. if it's going to be a big time organization. There's not many tradition-rich top 10 or 15 programs across the country that don't have big time crowds on game day. Well, you can just use Nebraska as an example, and I'm sure they wish they would have played well over the last 7 to 8 years, and I think they sold out every game, right? So that's what you're looking for.
Recruiting standpoint, from a program perception standpoint, how much does that bowl streak mean to Oklahoma State?
How much did what?
The bowl streak, how much does that mean to Oklahoma State?
The bowl streak. Oh, I mean, certainly like to win enough games to get in a bowl. Just from the standpoint, the more games you win, the better chance you have to do everything. I've said this before. Unfortunately, you'd be shocked how many young people you recruit, and you get into January and you go to the house and you think they know everything about you, and you're all excited and you feel good, and you talk to their parents and they don't know jack about you. They don't even know how many games you won that year. I mean, I'm talking probably over half. We live in a different world. People have so many other things going on that they're not focused on, and that's why it's difficult to fill stadiums now, because of all the other outside things going on. And it's always amazed me when you get in there, and we've been fortunate. We won a lot of games the last few years. You get in there, you're excited because you think that they know that you've been ranked in the top 15 in the country and all that. I've had them ask me, "Hey, Coach, what was your record this year?" I said, "Right now we're 12-0." Really? I said, "Yeah, we're doing good." I mean, because they might not even check. I mean, seriously, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of the way it is.
Would you say is the most valuable aspect of getting to a bowl game for you?
Well, it's you would like to get some rewards postseason for the players for all the work they put in. More than anything, it's I've always said this: when you get in a bowl, you're double dutying because you're recruiting full time and practicing full time. But that's ultimately the goal for the players to be able to enjoy some postseason competition.
Do you feel like you guys have a better handle on the recruiting aspect this year, being that you've now been through the early signing period once?
Sure. It's kind of settled itself. I'm not sure that we have a good feel for the new rules and all the way the things are done from a transfer standpoint and how you count, who can replace. To me, that's a mess, and that's going to create a serious issue. We're going to see that in a couple of years probably. But from the recruiting standpoint and December signing, I think that's been excellent. It's settled everything down and made it a much cleaner process. Not completely, but much cleaner.
Game 9, talk a little bit about Jim Knowles and the job he's done.
Well, it's been up and down for him. We've had games where we've played really well, and then there's times where we didn't defend down the field like we would have or would have wanted to. The harsh realism of that is the same thing I tell you guys. I tell the staff. No matter what we're doing on Saturdays, players are giving you a picture of how well we're coaching them and how much they understand. And part of being a quality football coach, in my opinion, is to be able to make adjustments and make that positive each week. It's never going to be perfect, but you got to get better and better each week. So it's a work in progress for us at this time.
Is it the coaches have a hard time adjusting to Big 12 football?
Outside this league?
Yeah, I mean when they come in.
You talking about Jim? Is that what you mean?
I'm not trying to just point him out, but I'm just talking about coaches in general.
I'm guessing if you played teams from this league that have a style of offenses that we have, and you get a 2-day week to prepare for them, it's probably not as smooth as maybe some of the other teams that you're playing. That'd be my guess. The difference in this league is, I said this a lot, offensive coordinators and offensive coaches in this league aren't scared to continue to exploit you over and over and over and over and throw it down the field continuously over and over and over and over, where in other leagues it's not as popular. That's the difference.
Like that maneuver you guys had on the punt to get Texas to jump off sides, where did that kind of come from, and did you have to check with anybody to make sure that it was within the rules?
No, it's within the rules. MK and Cash put that in. And they bring all their special teams plans to me on Sunday afternoon, just like yesterday. and I go over it with them. I do a lot of special teams work myself, and then I compare notes with them, and then they put the majority of the plan in, probably 90% of it. I might have a play here or there that I want to put in, but for the most part, it's those guys and their concepts, and so that was a play that they wanted to put in for this game, and we had a little time to work on it based on having the open week, and so it worked for us, obviously. What happened was better than what we had anticipated, but you can always shift and run a play, and that's basically what we were doing. We just didn't have to run a play.
What did your boys think of your commentary on Twitter the other night? I take it they're on social media.
Talking about my team.
Done.
Well, they know how I feel about social media. I don't even like them being on it. And as much as I can't stand it, they're on it. But I tell them that, that's a risk they take of getting beat up on social media, being on there. And they laugh about it. I let them stay up late last night to watch. We were watching different deal, Football Life, and then they watched the news, and so I can't even remember what channel it was, whatever channel that he's from, and they had that one on about the social media, and they kind of laugh. They get a kick out of all that, but they know that I don't like social media. I don't have any desire for any of that. It's here forever, though. It is what it is. It's all good. Yeah, see? I'm watching. That's exactly right. You guys good?
How you feeling about the Gunners' chances of this week of finishing?
They've done well. They've had a great year. The coaches have done a nice job. There's a lot of excitement in Stillwater. They're going to play a really good team. I mean, I have not seen Del City play. I mean, I've not seen any of it, but obviously they're I think they only lost one game, so they're a good team. Both teams probably about equal, and a lot of fun for the community, a lot of fun for the people here. It's been pretty cool to go to the games, the ones I've been to here in town, and it's a lot of people coming to the games. I went to a Choctaw game on the road, and there's a lot of fans there. So it's great for the community, great for the schools. Fun times for them. The kids don't know how much fun it is right now. They won't appreciate it till they get older. So, but they're playing a good team. Obviously, Del City must be really athletic, and they've won a lot of football games. Good stuff.